I have never been so happy to see traffic jams. Never. Today I saw them and I was so happy, meaning everything has gone back to normal, which is very, very good. There's children have gone to school, businesses are open, even in some of the areas that saw a lot of violence. Watch out this Wednesday, the previous Wednesday, everything has gone back to normal, and that is good for this country. And we'll be talking about some of the things that have happened and the implication of what has happened now. Now, in the studio with me, kama kawaida, I have Pastor David Wamathu with me. I always say Pastor Wamathu wears so many hats. In every situation, you choose which hat you're going to put on. He has so many hats. He's an economist, an entrepreneur. You name it, he's there. And then I have Dr. Peter Mutuo, who's a political analyst, but your doctorate is a doctorate in, I know you deal with family inheritance.
Succession management. And I have to be very clear. So,
yes.
So, you know, Professor Oli Buganda said that sometimes when they're doing interviews for professors,
yes,
in the academia,
yes,
they don't know what they're professing. I profess that effective succession management is possible in an African business setting.
Yes.
Wow, that's good.
We'll bring you one of these days, we talk about
Absolutely.
that. Why African businesses never seem to live past the principle.
And to debunk the illusion that they don't, because they do.
They do.
Oh, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
This has been a very interesting week for that matter. I mean, the 3 days of demonstrations were announced, and then shortly afterwards, I mean, they just died off. First and foremost, we've always asked most of the people that we've had here, is this the way to go? Let me start with you.
When I was doing my doctorate studies, one of the things I had to grapple with is the theory of shalom, not the theory, the definition of shalom. And unfortunately, I think in Kenya we have come to define peace. This is, I think it was the guy who was in Kenya, who said we've defined peace as the absence of conflict. Okay, that just because there's no conflict, then you imagine that there's peace. And what you realize when you read the Bible is that peace goes beyond just not having conflict. It goes into the fulfilling of God's purposes, creating that environment in which people can thrive and flourish. Now, when you don't have that completeness, then you have a problem. So, and this is a challenge. We cannot accept a situation where just because we've quelled conflict, then you say now we have gotten to peace and we can go back to our normal lives, because that is not true. So is this the way to go in terms of how to manage, in terms of moving forward? I think we need to allow dissent. And I'd say that even in my own household, if I lived like this, where I come and make laws and rules and regulations from the door, and I say I'm not going to listen to any sort of dissent even from my own children, then that is not a healthy environment in which to live. But again, the dissent also has to have limits.
Yes.
Because in essence, I mean, we can't be shouting at each other as parents in front of the children. It's saying that there's freedom of speech.
Yes.
There has to be a framework in which this kind of dissent is expressed. Yes.
One of the things that brought a lot of concern is when this dissent deteriorates and becomes violence, where violence is being meted on both innocent people, innocent protesters by the police, and at the same time, the protesters themselves are meting, violence on innocent people who are not participating in the same.
Yes.
Hence the question, is this the way?
Well, thank you very much, Fred, for that great question. And to start it up, I want to say one thing.
Yes.
That it is quite unfortunate what we are saying. I have seen some other countries, even the leaders from other countries, actually mocking Kenya.
Yes.
And they are actually, even some of the people are saying, Kenya, you don't know what you have.
Yeah.
And that's why you are behaving the way you are behaving. Because quite a lot of people are looking for the position like the one that we have here in Kenya, but they are not able to get it. Why we are saying it is not the right thing, it is good, as Daktari has said, it is good sometimes to have that listening ear. The only challenge that we have here is when you want equity, when you must go with clean hands. The question that we have in the country right now, do people who are agitating for what they are agitating having the clean heart? Because when you fight like there was something like the talks, bipartisan talks.
Yes.
After some time, the talks, they collapsed. Why is it that they are collapsing? It's because people are going into talks but with hidden agendas, which is actually a very bad position. As you have said, quite a number of people are being, like the business people. You have your business, look at what happened to Quickmart. You find someone has actually invested for so many years, and people just go and they break and they take away every other thing. So what we are saying, that is not the talk that we really need to do. It is not even the demonstration that is actually in the Constitution, Article 37. This is actually something which is illegal, whereby you come, you don't care. I am struggling like you. Anybody is struggling actually in businesses right now, Dr. Ali. So we are saying everybody has worked, and they are trying to make things to work. So when you come and you just steal and you break and do all these things, it is actually quite unfortunate. But the question also I am asking is, when you find every other day you call for people to go for demonstration,
yes,
and you find thousands and thousands of people on the streets,
yes,
then also it tells us something. There is a problem that we need to fix as the country.
Yes.
Because there are so many people who are actually, the people who are actually going in for these demonstrations, at the end of the day they are asking, when I stay at home,
yes,
there is nothing I will get.
Yes.
When I go out, I may get something. Because they are, and that's why they are actually heading up, breaking the shops, because they will be able, now that is an avenue where they can be able to get something. So we have a problem as a country, and we need to fix it. So what we are saying is, let the leaders see not only their political parties, but look at Kenya at large and ask themselves a question. What is it that we can do for our people to get them out of the levels that they are?
Now, I'm looking at this because this is a script that has played over and over again. If this was the first time we were having this kind of, reaction, and immediately after an election, if this was the first time, I would say, well, this is pretty unique. But this is a script that has played for a very long time with the same players. So the question I ask, I even question the motive of this script playing again. Because this script has been said it's because of the cost of living. Things are bad. But in the previous times, when this script played out, the cost of living was not where it is today. So, and the players are the same. So, there's a common denominator here. So you question, so what is happening? This script keeps on playing after every election. Since, is it 2007 or before?
It's not even 2007, and I think I mentioned to you, I am old enough to have seen this play out over the last 32 years. I never thought
for the last 32 years, this script has been
from
played.
1990 to 1991, saw it again in 1997, saw it again. There was a little bit of it in 2001, a little bit, then 2007, they saw it again, we saw it again in 2013, seen it again in 17, seen it again this year.
Yeah.
And if you, the reason it keeps doing this is because it rewards.
It works.
It rewards the players. All of them.
Oh, you're saying it rewards the
rewards the players.
Sure.
Yes.
It rewards the players. I think the only people who got off was, out of all this, who really got the short end of the stick were Kenneth Matiba and I think Rubia.
Yes.
And there are others, those anonymous people, and this is the other thing that I think that saddens me, that there are liberation heroes who we will never hear of, who just went off into obscurity, the Kagias of this world. You understand? So the ones who I know publicly were well worse off is Matiba and Rubia, who were ruined financially because of that, because of a very deliberate attempt, just actions to ruin them. But it has rewarded. in 1997, it happened, people got into government. 2001,
They demonstrated
yes,
the cost
and
chaos
NDP,
and they got...
NDP got into Kanu, and, and as it says, the tractor got into the cockerel and started it from inside, and Kanu died. And as by then has never recovered from that one. 1997, again, the same thing. You have an agitation, then you come, you merge these things. Everyone is happy. Everyone got what they came for. Again, 2017, the same story. You have this kind of agitation, and then we come and accommodate you. So that the challenge is that it is very rewarding, it's lucrative. The downside is that people die. People will lose property in the process, and those people are never remembered. Nobody remembers the people who were evicted from their places in 1997. No one remembers the people of 2007. You understand?
Sure.
Nobody remembers those ones. We keep behaving as if this is a brand new thing that is happening today, not remembering that those
We've
guys
been through this route so many...
Yeah, sure.
32 years.
32
This is 32 years of these same of these players.
Yes.
Same players,
same tactic, same script.
game, the same white
and the results are always the same.
because everyone gets up on the podium. Everyone gets on the podium at the end. But the problem is my watchman Ken might not get home tonight.
Yes.
Because of this thing. Then what? And he has a wife and he has children.
Now, why do we as Kenyans keep on playing to these actors who keep on repeating the same script, and we can almost tell by precedents that have been set before by the same players that they will do this, and this is where they will end up at?
Well, I think one, in terms of our politics,
Yes.
if you fight, we don't choose leaders. We choose people who can heckle most. People who can actually talk anything. We are looking for cheerleaders, and that is the problem that we have. So right now, I can tell you...
We're not looking for leaders.
No. In fact, that is out of the door completely. And that is why we are having so many serious problems. Because right now, if it is Daktari and me who are actually want to be the MP for Makadara, do you know how many people are going to vote? They will vote on how I can be, the things I can, charismatic I am, how much money I can come with, and I start giving 50. If Daktari doesn't have the 50 bob, vote to him. People will not vote for him. And that's why we are saying, because it starts, by the way, things don't go bad. They start wrong from the beginning. So the leaders that we have put in our mind, because of the culture that we have in this country, we are not choosing leaders because they deserve to be there. What we are doing is that we look for people who are just talking things which we want to hear. And some of the people, because of the problems that we are having right now, they will follow anybody. Like now, for example, if you ask yourself, what is it that we are doing in Kenya? Do you know there are so many people who are on the roads, yet they don't know what they are looking for? Even when they find it, they will not say, this is what I was looking for. Actually, they are only looking for the leader because the leader has said. And that is the problem. You remember, Daktari, people even said, even people in the parliament, they said as long as Baba has led, we are okay. So they don't even want to know. It is actually they are carried away by the things. If, for example, you trust someone so much, then even when they make mistakes, you don't see the mistakes. So what they see is that at least our leader has spoken. Today, right now, by the way, do you know many people are asking, and even actually yesterday, people were asking, where is Baba?
Yes.
Because they are actually looking at other people and saying, look, you are there, but we want instructions from Baba. Because they don't care whether Baba has delivered or not delivered. The culture they have actually gotten in is where they want to see, hi, all those kind of things. That's what they are looking for. But they are not looking at pure leadership. And that's why we have a problem. And I think it is a thing that we need to train and start training our people to understand politics and leadership. Because we said last time, politics looks for prosperity, but leadership looks for posterity. And that is the difference. If people are going to be carried by just mere words, we are going to have a problem. And you know the leaders, what they do? Let me say, if you want to be a leader, what these leaders have done is actually to make sure that people remain at the same level. There is
you remain poor.
Yeah, you remain poor. So that when they talk, it is like they see as if you are giving them hope. So the talks that like now, like people in the Azimio, what they are thinking, the people who are going on the streets, they are thinking that really what this man is saying is true. He is going to liberate us from the problem. But I listened to a clip. It was done before August 2022.
Yes.
And Honorable Raila explained something. And I have it. I listened to him. It was done by Gashuli. And he was asked some few questions. What would you say about the cost of living? That is the time he was in the handshake.
Yes.
And you know what he said? One, let's not be against the government the way we are. And he said, one, there has been no rains for the last 4 years.
Yes.
And therefore, you don't expect the price of unga to come down. Then he said another thing. There are other things which are beyond, which like Ukraine war and all those things. And he said this is a world problem. So when you actually come and accuse this government for what is happening, then you are not fair to the government. You listen to him.
Yes,
then he said another thing. He said, look, the crude oil has gone up. And when oil has gone up, the manufacturing and every other thing is affected. And therefore, it is something we need to come together, sit and agree on the way we move forward as a country. That is him who was talking about the same thing that is happening today when he was actually like in the government. And today, he is on the other side, speaking now a different tone. So we are finding that most of our leaders, if we are not analytical as Kenyan people, we will just follow leaders. But really, some of these leaders, not political leaders, really, we are following the political leaders. But in terms of leadership, it is zero. And I would say what we are doing right now is just pure politics, but it is not going to help the Kenya country.
It is messing up the economy, hence the reason why we're saying we're happy to see traffic jams. Now, for people to get to this place, over the years, we have believed that political leaders are the ones who are going to liberate us from, poverty and stuff. And it must have started somewhere, because I believe during Kenyatta times, we've always come and behaved as though the president, is the one who's going to distribute all the goodies to the rest. So if you don't get the presidency, then you will not enjoy the national cake.
I want to agree with Pastor here. When you're poorly led, you follow anything. You understand? And Jesus saw this distress with people. He said, these are like sheep without a shepherd. They can be eaten by anything. Anything, even a small fox can come and just take one by one by one. And that's a challenge we have. We are badly led. And when you're so poorly led, anything that sounds louder than anything else,
you will follow.
You follow. You understand? And I think it even goes back to the home, right inside the houses. So that even if I don't lead my home properly, if I don't set up my home properly, forget about the country. No.
Yes.
My court, where I live. You understand? Say I have inside here, we have 20 houses. There are watchmen inside here. Do I take care of this court? Start there. So that, am I a reference point for these watchmen? Can the watchmen come and actually listen? Can we have a discussion and say, okay, this is where the country is going. This is what I think we can do at home. Can I have it in my own house? Because some of these politicians, and I sympathize with some of them, because they are so by individuals, but they have to put on another persona. For you to be elected, you can't go like this good person.
No, you can't. You can't
go talking like this. You have to insult people. You have to do crude things. You have to you have to do so many things that when you talk to them, you can see a dissonance between the person who he has been forced to become in order to be elected. By the time you're calling yourself Mimi ni ng'ombe hapa, do you know where you have to reach? Mimi ni ng'ombe hapa, Fred Njiri. Hii ni ng'ombe yake. Nisimame nitasimama. Do you know where you have to, the level of deprivation. You have to have reached to arrive at that place. So if we begin, because now you get to the point of desperation, you start thinking, there's nothing I can do. I can do something. Yes. I'll organize my home. I'll organize my family, my extended family. I'll organize these watchmen of mine, and those ones, they'll have a direction. Then we start from there. And if everyone does that, then what happens is then I think you begin to raise expectations, and then you begin to distinguish between leaders and political leaders.
Correct. True.
Those are different people. These are very big differences. Sometimes when we talk as if they're the same thing. They're not. There's a political winner of an election, and there's a leader. Sometimes, if you're lucky, they're the same person.
Correct.
But more often than not,
Sure.
these are
Two different animals.
people. And if you conflate them, we get into problems.
Now, this script, how it's played out in the past is we immediately after elections, we have demonstration. The next thing we have, people are being killed, people losing their lives. The church comes in and civil society. We need dialogue. And it's playing pretty right the same way. The elections, demonstrations, people lose their lives. Church and civil society and the international community call for dialogue. Yesterday I listened to the deputy president and he was telling the church, you guys, you're calling for dialogue. Okay, dialogue over what? What are we talking about? Because yes, we engage him. In the past, the dialogue has led to the other people joining the government, so that, dialogue, end the violence, join the government. So they was asking, dialogue for what? We have to break this precedent that has been set.
Well, let me tell you where the deputy president is coming. And I'm not talking for Kenya Kwanza.
Yes.
I have no business. Actually, I'm not in politics. I'm in business.
Yes.
And all what we need is environment where we can do our business.
Yes.
But let me say one thing. When you sweep your house and you put the dirt under the carpet, you are actually breeding trouble. Because at the end of the day, that's when you'll get the flu.
Yes.
And all these kind of things.
Yes.
Because you are not in a clean place. Yet, from the outside, people can see it's like you are in a clean place.
Yeah.
Let me say, there is a point whereby you have to say no to some few things. The culture, as Dr. said, for 32 years, we have been having the same script. It has to come to an end. Because if it doesn't come to an end at one particular time, then there is no need for us to go and vote for a president. Because what will happen is that this time, if the people who are saying that we are not, they are not recognizing even the presidency. In the first place, they are asking for talks. But you are going to talk with who? Yet you are calling him Mister. When already the constitution has provided. Yes, one name. Yes. Or you are calling him Zakayo. And you want really to go and sit down and discuss with Zakayo. Let me say, at the end of the day, Fred, it has to get to a point whereby people respect the rule of law. Whereby they say the constitution gave a mandate and it said 50 plus 1. The thing is, we went even to Supreme Court and he was declared as the president. The first thing, we must accept that there is no vacuum in this country. In terms of the presidency, we have a president who is the commander in chief. And therefore, these other things, before even we get to that level of accepting, it is very hard for us to have a discussion. But then one thing that we are saying is, let us say one thing. If someone wins, they have won. Because I'm saying, if we want this cycle to go even to 50 years, it will go. Because who is, the next time 2027, someone who will be defeated, what will they do? The same script that Dr. is saying. Yes. They will just go through. Yes, they throw stones. Yes. They throw stones. And then we bring the
society.
Yes. And the churches. Yes.
Say, let's have dialogue.
Correct. That's why we are saying we have to stop there is another time. In fact, I have listened to so many people this week, and they have used a word I don't want to use, but I can say the word that they were saying. They were saying this nonsense has to come to an end, because I don't think it makes sense what we are trying to do. The thing is, why is it that it is only the presidency that we keep on fighting about? When we talk about IEBC, why is it that we are saying the governors are lately where they are supposed to be? And they were elected through the same IEBC. There are several things. Like now, they were talking about the judicial, and they were saying about like the finance bill. Do you know, this finance bill they are actually fighting about, it has not even been implemented wholly. And I can tell you 27th of this month, this finance bill, there are quite a number of things maybe which are going to be changed. And the court may actually rule and say, look, there are several issues which are bringing some concerns to the Kenyans people. Let them be looked into. So you see, the government, though, it is only the EPRA actually which has implemented in terms of the fuel. But look at the other many things. They have not been implemented. And what we are saying is, we have the judicial system. Kenya has actually what it takes. But it is only some few individuals, as Daktari said, because of the money they make. Never be cheated. These guys, they are getting monies. They are getting, like now, what happened this week? This week, security apparatus were removed from some of the people. Did you hear about how many security that like Mama Gina has? How many security teams? Like 30 something. She is actually, you know who is paying? It is the government. Do you know, like,
it's a taxpayer.
Yeah, the taxpayer, the money that we are doing from KRA, it is actually the money that is paying for these guys. Then you find even Honorable Raila. How many security guards does he have? The other time they were saying he is actually using the government vehicles to go for demonstration. And you heard the people say, let him park the government vehicles, and he takes his Range Rovers and he goes to the streets with them. He will not go. But when they are hit, it is actually the taxpayers' properties which are hit. And that's why we are saying at the end of the day, we have to come to a point and we say enough is enough of these kind of things. Because there is no economy that is going to be built through demonstration. By the way, people and the Kenyan people need to listen very well. What we are doing right now is taking us very many steps backwards. Why is it that I am saying that? It is because on Wednesday, especially the last Wednesday, leave alone this one, the other Wednesday, do you know people never worked at all?
Yes.
Every other day, you are losing to the tunes of like around 3 billion Kenya shilling.
Every day Kenya
is not working. Partially, actually, not even fully. If it is working fully, it is going to 7-8 billion. So we are saying there are some few areas where people are working. But we are saying every other day, we are losing 3 billion. This 3 billion, like 3 days you say, this week we will lose the 9 billion. Then you say next week, it is 3 straight demonstration again. What kind of a country are we talking about? And that's why I am happy that the government is actually taking a position right now. They are saying you can go and demonstrate. Even on Tuesday, the other Tuesday, Honorable Raila, he went to town. And there is nobody who bothered him. And because it was not a planned thing for demonstration, there were no stones which were thrown. Shops were not closed. In fact, people went on with their shops. But when we say that we are going to demonstrate, you cannot even afford to be on the road.
So are you pro? Should we have dialogue?
It is important to have dialogue, but let's actually agree. What is it? Like the way the deputy is asking, what is it that we are talking about? Can I ask you a question, Fred?
Yes.
Today, if we are talking about the 4 Chelelas, is that a dialogue that we can actually go to? People who have resigned and we want to reinstate them. Is that a dialogue?
No.
So there are some few things, really, they don't make sense. And that's why people are saying this is nonsense. They don't make sense at all. Because if you resigned, why would I be agitating for you to be reinstated? So there are some few discussions that we can have. And some of the discussions we can have is, Well, what do we do about the cost of living? If they are actually coming together and saying, look, guys, it is true, we are where we are. What do we need to make the cost of living to go down? That is an excellent discussion. But there are some few discussions which I'm fighting. Like these issues we keep on talking about opening the server. When is it that we will say the server was open? Because I can tell you, during the Supreme Court, these guys went for 4 days with open servers. They went even with their IT experts. They looked at when they were talking about there were some people who were changing the server. How did they get to know that? Isn't it like they opened the server and they saw some few people here when they were putting their name, and they said this guy is the one who was trying to work on the server. So there was a lot that was done. So I think there are some few things people
that we cannot, no conversation can be held.
There are some few things that really we are wasting time. Because already we know the server issue, the only thing that the guys said, there are some few other lights that we cannot give. You know why? Some of the lights, if you give, anybody can go and also do whatever they want to do. And they can lose the every information that is in the server. So that's why we are saying at the end of the day, let's have a discussion which is making Kenya to move forward. These are a discussion. Really, like for Chelelas, it is not a discussion helping the country.
First of all, let me say, I love you, Pastor. Hallelujah.
Thank you.
I love you that you're in business.
Thank you.
But I also used to talk like that and say, no, I'm not in politics, I'm in business. Till a politician came to a property of mine. I told these people, hii kitu haina mwenyewe, fanya nini?
It's your property.
It is your property. Ingieni mugawane. And they believe. Let me tell you. They believed. And it becomes a very serious. And there are places which are like that. When you look at the Mlolongos of this world, you look at the rivers, the kinds of problems are those ones. You can have a property, you have title, and a politician comes and decides it's not possible for someone to have 50 acres.
Sure.
In the river when we're all suffering. Us to live in a kijiji here. You understand? And you can have that discussion in Bukuru Kayaba and then say, you know what, there's open space. Let's go and take you. And from there you have problem after problem. So I had removed myself from politics till that happened. Then I realized we must be interested in the politics of the day, even as Christians.
We have to play a role.
We have to be invested in. It is dirty, it is bad, it is crazy, but we have to be inside. We can't afford to say it. Let's leave it for those guys. Number two, we've talked about an interesting thing where you're saying, why is it that we're not able, why do we get into this cycle? We get into this cycle because there are people for whom government is business and it's life. That I have no other means of earning an income if I'm not in government. You understand? It's a very, very important thing to
correct.
As in, if I'm not in government, I'm jobless.
Not just jobless. You have no income. You have no significance. You're nothing. You are nothing. You have no access to tenders. You have access to nothing. And because you've been in this position for so long, for 30, going 40 years, if you are told go home today, there's you don't know how to go home. And this is the difference between us and now the other developed countries. I talk about the UKs, because Boris Johnson, he's another head of another country, so let me say what I think about him. But with all his issues, he goes around the country, he makes money by making speeches. Based on who he is, people want to hear. And sometimes maybe to just marvel that a country can elect a person like this. You understand? And he makes money. Liz Truss has other businesses that she does. Rishi Sunak, when he goes from being prime minister, he has other things. You have people like John Major, who left. I think you go and become a consultant. You go and become there are other things. The world is waiting for you. Now, let me ask you, if I name just some of the politicians, where do you take a guy like this? Where do you take him? You understand?
Once he leaves,
because even your own house, you would not leave your car. You understand? To go from here to the shops here in Buruburu and come. You would not give him your car.
You don't trust him with that.
At all. You understand? So this guy, unless he's in government, where he or she can do things by force, they have no other life. And that's the issue at hand. We've elected people for whom politics is their way of life. And that's why we are finding ourselves in this situation.
Politics is their job. It's their source of income.
It's a source of income. It's a source of significance. It's a source of everything. It's life and death. And that's why they're willing to kill. And that's why it doesn't matter if 20, 30, 40, those are numbers. Until 50 people have died. So 1,250, 500 displaced. It's the cost of doing business.
Yes.
You understand?
It's the cost. Oh, that's a very strong statement. Yes. It's the cost of doing business.
And it's a cost. That's how you get onto the headlines. That's how headlines will not get in. Ati by walking quietly on Kenyatta Avenue, ati bangi sufuria. The whole day. There's no headline. It will be funny one day or the next, like the people skipping rope in Nyeri. Yes. Then next week after that, is that not a thing? Yeah. But when people die, blood is spilled, Quickmart has been stoned, Eastmart has been robbed. I keep my income in the newspapers, that's how it is. And that's if we don't resolve that, then this is going to continue. And even if
how do we resolve that? Because quite a number of people are living off politics in Kenya. Yeah. How do we resolve that?
Well, the thing is, I can tell you again. We are saying Kenya has what it takes for us to sort out all our issues. And why I'm saying that, 1965, there is a paper that was done by Mwai Kibaki and Ouko. Yes. That 1965 paper has changed some other countries, and it has not changed Kenya. Some of the countries like Malaysia that we are finding that they are doing very well right now, their economy was very down. They just get the papers from Kenya, and they do the implementation. So how we need to sort out our issues is let's implement what we have. In fact, this constitution that we have right now, it tells us about the presidency. It tells us how can you get the president out of a seat. It doesn't tell you you can get him out with just signing what we are signing right now. That is a political game. It doesn't tell you that you can actually get president out of the seat by doing these demos that we are doing. In fact, if you look at the president, he is changing the tune right now as we speak. And right now, yesterday I listened to him, and he said, tumewakanyagia on Wednesday and yesterday. And today, we are going even to be a little bit higher in terms of how we are going to operate. You can see the president right now, he is actually tired about what is happening here. If these guys, they can actually go and use the tools and the instrument they have in the constitution, because it tells us exactly, if for example you have a certain issue, if you have actually, even like what we are even seeing, the people who are being caught, like Babu Owino, they are Babu Owinos and many of them, the political leaders, being caught, the constitution actually says exactly what is supposed to be done. But many of us, we don't want to follow the constitution. And one of the things that we keep on talking about, and you'll hear even like the opposition talk about, is that they don't trust the judiciary. If you don't trust your systems, who is it that is going to help you out of this? Actually, can I say one thing? We have refused to do the right things.
We have refused.
Correct. You see, like the demonstration, the Article 37.
When you say we have refused, it means we have intentionally said we are not going to do the right thing.
I am telling you here, it is actually, what we are fighting here is actually people, they know, even the political leaders, they know what is it that they need to do. But he said one thing, some of them, they are in business right now. So they will do whatever thing that they can be able to do for them to get money. Do you know, as he is saying, as Dr. Ali is saying, when you get into the headlines each and every other time, the world, the people outside Kenya, they will recognize that there is a man by the name Fred. He is a powerful guy, and he is likely to take over after some few years. You know what they will do? They will fund you. They will give you a lot of money. And that's why we are talking about some of the leaders, the political leaders we have right now. They are billionaires and billionaires. And you ask yourself, how did they become billionaires? It is because one thing, the funding is too much.
Yes.
They get a lot of money. And you heard another person say that the party like Jubilee belongs to who?
Yes.
Like the ODM belongs to who?
Mm-hmm.
You know who is ODM,
yes,
and who is actually, so we know. And therefore there is a lot of money these guys are getting. And that's why they are not really caring about, as Dr. Lia said, people have been killed. They don't see. They are saying, we must fight, for our rights. So, and they will justify when you are fighting for your rights. Some of us, even if we are killed. See here, that is the statements they keep on telling us. That if we are killed, so be it. But we will not stop. But how are they going to be killed? And they are just, everybody is actually making sure that if you are throwing a bullet, you don't throw that side. You only throw it to Daktari's place. Yes, every other person. Yes.
Including everyone, even those who are fighting you.
Correct.
Do not try and shoot him.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that guy, unless it is that bullet, which never actually was not intended, nobody is going to point at these guys like this. But they will point on you. And that's why you are finding Kenyans, people are dying. But which political leader has died?
Just to mention,
yes.
That's how Saul died. Not Saul, Ahab.
Yeah.
And Randall.
Yeah.
And Aaron was shot. It was
intentional.
Yeah.
That's how Ahab died.
It landed on him.
Yeah.
So that's the only way.
Yes.
Because these are national institutional assets. Yes, because the security is tied up in this. So it is in nobody's interest for anything to happen to this guy. So it can happen to everyone around him.
Apart from him.
Not this guy.
You said that, and I remember a time, one of the presidential candidates, during some of the demonstrations, I think it was Wajakoya. Wajakoya was making a speech, and he was saying they were together with Azmio, and he was saying, even if they shoot us, if they kill us, we're not afraid, we are ready to die. And then there was, I think it was tear gas. One of the police fired the tear gas, and the speed at which he disappeared from the top of the vehicle into the vehicle was a twinkling of an eye. It's like rapture.
You can see.
He went that fast. Yeah. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But now, how do we get back to the church? Because for me, the church is the most powerful tool within the country, because this is supposed to be where God speaks to the world through the church. But the church has been part of this script. At what point do we get to the place where we call all these people to book, and we don't seem to be taking positions? We have a position, which is a position which, I think it was an angel that appeared when Joshua was crossing over, and he asked him, which side are you on? Theirs or ours? And he said, neither, I'm on the Lord's side.
Correct.
As in, how do we get to that point whereby the church is not used as a tool of playing roles? There are people who are known to be criminals, but they've hidden within the church. And they come up and do things and still go under the church. How do we get to that point where we regain the credibility that we once had as a body of Christ?
In my view, I think what I've seen, and again, just before my studies, my studies included the studying of the succession process for Israel. Starting from David all the way to the end. I think it was Hezekiah's son, who after which Israel was collapsed as a country completely. And you close that chapter and you go to Malachi. number one, we need to realize that even when you read those succession stories, these situations we are seeing now, cost of living, agitation, pain, and just are not new. They're not new. There's nothing new here that we are seeing that we are the first ones. And this is just our fourth succession process.
Sure.
You understand? This is just the fourth.
Yes.
These ones went through 47. So you can see a whole variety. So we need to go back to the Bible, in my view. And read and find out what did people do when they were faced by these things. And you know, the Old Testament operated without the benefit of the Holy Spirit, without the benefit of Jesus Christ as Savior. What did people do? And people like Jehoshaphat, people like Hezekiah were able to reverse a situation like this within not just their lifetimes, but within a very short period of time. But there's a dependence on God that has to happen because there's no wisdom, there's no human wisdom here that can solve the problems. There's no council of economists looking at it from a secular perspective and telling you that this, take it or leave it, this is a bitter pill. You know, you understand? We must go back to the Bible. Number two, and this is where I really hope the church intervenes, and I know Archbishop Mugeria brought it up, and he said there's a way we're going to moderate how we speak. As leadership, there's a way we're going to have to moderate. And I say it's a very serious issue, because when you look at Solomon's son, Rehoboam inherited the kingdom, as it were. And the people came and told him, look. And which brings the other parallel, that yes, Solomon was prosperous, but at very great cost, to the point of collapsing that country. They were in debt. They were almost under slavery now. It had become slavery. Yes. By the time all those magnificent things were being built, by the end, people were slaves, and they had nothing. And they told Rehoboam, listen, your father has really, really, really been hard on us. Okay? Now, as you go and decide how you're going to talk to us. And he was advised. And this is the other thing that we realize, that there are good advisors, even in this country. Like his pastor is saying, we have brilliant individuals in this country. And he was given two options. Talk like this other way. And he chose to talk the way the younger people, and the history records the rift that happened from that point, from words. Words. The words people were, the words. It was not even weapons, nothing. It was just words. The statement that guy made, it was statement he made, collapse an entire kingdom. But number three, and this is what we're saying, we need to see ourselves for who we really are. You know, sometimes if you're in a toxic, abusive relationship, someone keeps telling you, you know how he's smart. You can see. Look at the tie, look at everything. Lakini hiyo nywele yako hata haikui, haimeangi. You understand?
Yes.
Unoni, umepika, ukakamekon. If you live with someone like that, you'll never see yourself. You'll never understand that. Look, you don't ask, what will I mean, look, I wish I could be dressed like this. Yes. I wish I could be slim. You just say, to the death. To the death. We've been in such a toxic relationship, I think with not leadership, with political situations, that we are not seeing ourselves for the beautiful, fantastic, amazing country that we are. Someone comes and the entire judiciary is corrupt. The do you know if the judiciary was collapsed completely? You would not be sitting here.
Sure.
We'd not be sitting here, but then there'd be a court outside waiting for us. You understand? If the entire police was corrupt, we'd have collapsed. Yes. And so we need to see ourselves, not to believe this.
Correct.
People are showing us. We are an amazing country. Let me tell you. We are not squeezed into Kibera. Go to Laikipia, go to Garissa, go to Mandera, go travel. Kenya is big. Kenya has space for everyone. So this whole idea that all of us must fight to occupy Wayakiwe. I must be touching Wayakiwe. And if I'm not touching Wayakiwe, you understand? And if we do those things, in my view, we will make enormous strides. But those are personal choices that we have to make.
Well, I support what Dr. Ari is saying. And to add to that, let's look at the position of the church. And he has talked about it. There are quite a number, and I'm very happy for the last almost 3 weeks. the religious leaders have actually come out strongly. And they are the ones who are even agitating. And they are actually even saying, look, guys, if it really need for us to bring you together, we are ready to do this.
Yes.
So it is, we can say that the religious leaders, they are actually coming together. And they want to see peace. And they want to sort out these issues. The only thing I would say is that every other time, there will always be ups and downs. There are some leaders also who have taken the political line.
Yes.
The church leaders. And that's why we were saying, if today we are told that on Sunday we are going to receive a political leader, will we speak the same message that we had? Some of us, we will change the message
To suit.
Because at the end of the day, we want this person to be happy and to give us something. By the time they are leaving, they will say, you have talked very well.
Yes.
We don't want not to talk well.
Yes.
But I think what we need to be as the leaders, especially the religious leaders, is actually to know that our calling is higher than these political things.
Amen.
Sure.
We have a calling, and that calling is to save the mankind. And every soul counts
Yes.
in the kingdom of God.
Amen.
Where the politicians are seeing, because this is someone who has no name, has died, is nothing. For us, we know that it counts. And that soul is the one that we are looking for. And we know another thing, that either a political leader or even someone who is in Kibera, all of them are equal in the eyes of God.
Yes.
And therefore, we must stand firm as the church. I know quite a number of times people have been saying, no, the church is not doing, but I can tell you the church has actually tried to do what they are supposed to do. They may not have done it 100%,
Yes.
but I can say, especially what is happening right now, they are more vocal than any other institution. And therefore, what I am seeing is the church is actually ready to bring change. But we must not allow the politicians, if, for example, they want to drag it, because some of them, they want to drag church. And there is a time that we used to give the podium to the politicians. It got to a point and we said, come and worship together with us,
Yes.
just like any other person. We are not going to give you preference. If you want to go and do your politics after the church, go and put your PA system out there and now talk to the people whatever you want. But when we are here in the church,
Yes.
we are equal before God. And therefore, let the church leaders, let the religious leaders, because there are many, even the Muslims,
Yes.
and the other needs. So that's why I'm careful to use the religious leaders. Let them stand and let their voice be counted, because whatever they say, there is another power that backs what they say. And therefore, we should not be brought down
Amen.
by whatever people are going to talk about. I know, right now, we are here with Dr. Ali.
Yes.
We are talking, and we are saying the government need to do this. And we are telling the opposition, what you are doing is not the right thing. And I think that's what we really need to do. Let's speak the truth. It doesn't matter from where I come from.
Yes.
And I can tell you, by the way, this whole thing, by the virtue of where I come from, I come from Mount Kenya.
Yes.
And I can tell you, people are cheated every other day by the political leaders. Do you know one of the areas that was underdeveloped was Mount Kenya?
One of the areas.
The areas, actually in this country,
Yes.
one of the areas that was underdeveloped was Mount Kenya. Why? Because we had very many presidents.
Yes.
We started with Jomo Kenyatta.
Yes.
Then after that, we had a break. Moi came.
Yes.
And then we got Kibaki.
Yes.
And then we got Uhuru.
Yes.
Can I tell you, we got to a point whereby we started saying we would rather not have a presidency. And that's why we did not even bother to have a president this particular time.
Yes.
Because right now, we are darling to many people.
Yes.
So someone will be coming and saying, I want to develop my Kenya because here I can get votes
Yes.
from here.
Yes.
But the other time they used to take it for granted and they say, our people are many. They will vote for us.
Yes.
So can I say one thing? And this is actually for the Kenyans to hear. You get less development when you have your leader as the president. He is not really bothered about you alone.
Yes.
In fact, he will go and develop other places where he did not get votes. So that next time
he can get votes.
yeah, so that is the thing. So let's not keep on fighting about I must have a Kikuyu as a president. I must have a Luo as a president.
Yes.
Let's actually agree. Let's have a president who is our president, and let him lead the country in the right dimensions.
All right. Your closing comments.
Mine is, again, just a reminder. Kenya is a beautiful country. And I used you as an illustration. People everyone from outside comes and says, they come and fly and I remember when, as even our neighbors, some of them are celebrating at you, investors are going.
Yes.
And that is not neighborly. Let us start.
Yes,
you cannot be celebrating the fact that your own neighbor
is
your
fighting,
brother is
and so
fighting
investors are
problems.
coming.
That is not, just from an African perspective, we don't do things like that in Africa. But I remember, and it's still going on, even the fact that we have power. Right now, you have scheduled blackouts. We have a situation where even countries have gone to Nigeria, have gone to South Africa, and realize if you want to operate a business, come together. And it's attractive. Even as all these things are going on, it's attractive. So we look like this to the outside investor, but to ourselves, we have this really tattered view of ourselves, and this low self-esteem inducing that, which is affecting us. And we need to look at ourselves like this and see that this is how the world sees us.
Correct.
This is how the world sees us. Not the mtu ameamka tu asubuhi jaswaka meno, you understand? Which is the usaidizi tu umeamka na bakuli begi. Every go bakuli you understand? Because if we see ourselves like that, then our expectations of ourselves will be different. Because then you begin to say, look, I cannot live like this. I cannot be waiting in the morning to be told, do I go to the streets or do I not go? You understand? I can't allow my leader to talk to me in this fashion. You cannot talk to me as if if my own children I don't talk to like that. Why would I accept that from another? You understand? So that there's a minimum standard where we say,
correct,
we are a sovereign nation, and
yes,
the sovereignty lies in the people, and there must be a sense of decorum. It doesn't matter if you're an elected leader, the highest position, whichever position you occupy, there's a way you're going to talk to me. And if you don't talk to me like that, we're going to part ways.
Correct.
And that is what happened to Israel. You understand? The people told Rehoboam,
this is the way you talk to us.
Everyone to their homes. You have left you with your house. And this is you understand?
Yes.
We've left you. David, angalia nyumba yako. We are off.
Correct.
And that's its split. So the leaders need to remember that these sovereign people of Kenya are not amorphous.
Correct.
They are defined quantity. And they can leave you.
Yes.
Correct.
Kwa mataa. And you wake up one morning and you're trying to talk to, and there's nobody to talk to at all. And I remember that, like I said, I'm old enough to have seen more. Where I come from, I live in Nakuru, a place called Sobea. It's quite next to Kabarak. In the last days of Moi, he'd be driving. He's still the president. There's someone lying on the grass. And the president's motorcade is coming.
Look at that.
They continue doing their own things as if nothing.
He became inconsequential.
Completely. His window is open. He's waiting. He used to have money. He's waiting to get out money. Nobody was interested in him. And let me tell you, and that's a painful place to be, where you become irrelevant. And if they're not careful, that's what will happen.
You're closing.
And actually, I will close with what Dr. has said. There are some times you do things and people are not interested with you. And that's why the political leaders, they need to be very careful. You see Mount Kenya as a closing thing. Why you realized that Uhuru was unable to go to Mount Kenya and to sell his candidate is because people got tired of him. And I remember one statement that he could say is that, have you seen my friend? What I sent to you. He doesn't even want to commit on anything. And he says, if you can, give him votes. And that stops at that. He went to Nyeri, and people are in their shops.
Yes.
They never closed even their shops. As Dr. is saying, and it is a leader, and he is the number one in the country. There are times that Kenyans people get tired. And this is what we are doing. If we don't give solution to Kenyans people, we cannot continue just doing the same thing to them. Kenyans need hope. Kenyans, we understand, yes, they need food to eat. But let's be careful. What we are doing right now, it may not give the Kenyans people food. What we need to do is let's get into production. Let's pray to God that August we start harvesting and get enough food, because at the end of the day, there is what we said last time. Price setting is based on two things. It is supply and the demand. So if we have more maize in this country, the price of unga will come down. Kuweka masufuria is not going to help the Kenyan people. So Kenyan people, I would urge them, all of Kenyan people, let's get to work. Let's do what can be able to propel us to our heights. These other things, they are just political, and they are not changing our economics.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Well, the ball is in our court. We are the ones who decide how this country is going to go. The decisions we make on a daily basis. All of us are leaders. It's only the levels of leadership that we talk about. Every person is a leader. If you don't have people you're leading yourself. What kind of a leader are you? And whatever we are seeing around is a manifestation of the kind of leadership that we have in the country. If we are peaceful, if we are prosperous, people keep on talking about Kibaki. It just shows the kind of leader that he was. So let's rise up and do what we need to do to make sure that we will bequeath our children a better Kenya than we received from our forefathers. Do have yourself a lovely morning. Remember, there are quite a number of shows coming after this that are so beautiful, and I would love you to watch them. So keep it EBN.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, Pastor.
Thank you.